If I could have your attention in the media center, we're going to go ahead and continue on with our pre-race media availabilities for the Goodyear 400. And we're joined by Joey Logano, driver of the 22 Shell Pennzoil Ford for Team Penske. And we're going to roll right into questions. If you have a question for Joey, please go ahead and raise your hand, and we will get a wireless microphone to you. We'll start with Kelly Crandall and go to Bob and then to Deb.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Joey, earlier this week with the announcement of joining the list of the 75 greatest drivers, you talked a lot about it on XM. As over the last couple days, as you've thought more about it, can you believe how much has happened in a short amount of time when you think about your Cup career? I mean, 10 years ago, you started with Team Penske, and look at everything since then, and now you're on a list of the 75 greatest drivers.
Yeah, it's obviously an incredible honor. Especially when you look at the other drivers that are on the list, right? And to have your name involved with those guys, a lot of them, the ones I grew up watching racing, or some that I raced against, and a lot of them that I remember the first 4 years of my career kicking my butt, right? And thinking, boy, I just hope I'm in the sport. Forget being on a list like this, And I was talking to Walt Zarnicki this week afterwards, and he called me to congratulate me, and I thought, you know what, it's really kind of our award here, because I would never have made it if it wasn't for you. So it's really a shared thing, right? So I was this close of not having a Cup ride, and you look at the last, like you said, 11 years to rack up enough stats to make that list is pretty cool for me.
Go to Bob, Deb, Scott, and Mark.
Bob Pockris, Fox Sports. Last week we saw the security, break up the Ross-Noah fight. I'm curious if you feel like that's the right thing, or as a guy with maybe a little bit of reach, would you rather them not to break it up?
Well, it allowed me to sit there and enjoy my ice cold Coke and watch a fight for a minute. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you on that. I'm not a huge fan of tearing up race cars, because that's dangerous. But I also say it's probably not safe to have fights on pit road either if they're not equally matched, right? You get a big guy versus a little guy, you might rather get run into the wall, right? Like, I don't know. I don't have the answer, right? You can look at the NHL, and sometimes they let them fight and sometimes they don't. I don't know. I don't know. Usually it never escalates into too much, right? Typically it's just a shove match, or if people yelling at each other, but I don't know. I don't have an answer. I don't know.
We'll go to Deb, Scott, Mark.
Deb Williams, Auto Week. Joey, we always hear when somebody wins and, they're in the playoffs now, they can concentrate on getting ready for the playoffs and all. But when it comes to the driver, how does it change your mental feelings? Do you feel relief, like, oh my gosh, I can just go out and race now, I don't have to worry about this? Or how does it affect you?
It's a relief for about a day, and then you're back at it again, because it's kind of like one box is checked, but not the ultimate box, right? It's like one stepping stone to get there, right? If your goal is to win the championship, okay, well, first we got to make the playoffs. Okay, now we made the playoffs. Now we need to get as many playoff points as possible to stack ourselves into the playoffs the best we possibly can to up our chances. So that's pressure again, right? And then you get into the playoffs, and it's like, okay, we made it to the next round. Well, okay, we made it to the next round, but we got to, do it again, and it's going to get harder and harder. The NASCAR schedule and point system is there to apply pressure all the time. It is not like it used to be, where you won a race and you're locked into the playoffs and everyone's stacking up pretty close in the points to where you can have a bad race and it doesn't matter. It's not like that anymore, right? With the regular season points, that turns into playoff points, right? Racing for that regular season championship or the top 10 in points is big. Every stage is big. Every race win is now big. Like, you can't let your foot off the gas. Like, you got to go all the time. And the schedule's designed to do that. And the point system's designed to do that, as it should be. That's what fans want. That's why I get a little confused sometimes when fans say they want it the way it used to be. I'm like, well, do you remember what that was? Like, that sucked. Like, this is great. Like, the intensity is ridiculous all the way through the whole season. And then each round of the playoffs, it just gets more and more. As a driver, I'm never comfortable. And I never go, well, that race didn't matter. I never say that. Like, I am disappointed after every bad race because there's a lot on the line.
Scott?
Joey, Scott Chansey with the Florence Morning News. When you were a rookie, Cale Yarborough took you on a joyride around this track. What do you remember from that?
I'll remember it forever. I know that. I don't sit in the passenger seat very often, but when it's Cale Yarborough around Darlington, I'll strap in and go for a ride because that's like the coolest thing you can do. And I remember some of the things he told me about how to get around this place, and I tell you what, it hasn't changed much since he raced because it all lined up really, really well about how you get around the place and what to do. So part of it was cool just seeing him like sitting in the passenger seat and just watching him wheel it around here. That was really neat, obviously. But like I said, his advice really transferred over to the modern day, even to today.
Go to Mark and then to Jordan.
Mark Garrow, PRN. Joey, just looking ahead to next week, how big of a deal is this all-star race at North Wilkesboro to win it, and what do you think the atmosphere is going to be?
Well, I think the atmosphere is going to be amazing, right? I mean, you got 2 throwback weekends in a row, if you ask me, right? You got this weekend, which is great, and then you're going to go to North Wilkesboro, which, you know, is the most hyped race of the year, right? That's the race everyone's been talking about, kind of like the Clash before there was a Clash. What's it going to be like right before we went there the first time? Now it's North Wilkesboro, and what's that going to be like? And, you know, everyone's talked about it. You know, they announced a sellout a long time ago. So I'm pretty excited to get up there and see what the racing's like. When you add $1 million on the line, it doesn't matter where we race. It's going to be intense and exciting. But I think the nostalgia of going back there and that excitement that a lot of fans have and competitors have as well is an added piece for sure.
The format's kind of old school, a little bit longer, no big little sprint. You like that idea? You like that idea?
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to change it up until you race there the first time. How do you know what you would adjust? You know, so you know, I think tires are going to be key, right? And that'll be important. But you know, I let it just be a race. Let it be a normal race and see what it comes out like.
Go up to Jordan.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. You've worked in the broadcast booth with Kevin Harvick before, correct?
Yep.
What's that experience like? What's Kevin bring? What's your interactions been like? Everything.
Kevin's done a good job up there. He's fun to work with. We've gotten to know each other really well, whether it's flying back and forth to some races together or being up there in the booth. And you know, obviously he has a incredible eye for the sport, right? To kind of know what's going on. He's been doing it for so long. He can see it very quickly. You know, he's obviously getting a lot of experience up there over the last few years to be ready for his next venture. And yeah, I think he's gonna be great for the sport. It's one of the things that I think is best about Kevin is that he's not just leaving us high and dry, right? Like Kevin has a big fan following. He is very vocal in our sport in a positive way to make it better all the time. And for him to just race and leave it would hurt all of us. The fact that he's staying around to go stay involved with the sport and, you know, whether it's from just being around or being on TV and talking to the fans, I think is all really, really good.
Has he given you any tips or tricks or like any knowledge or insight on how his broadcast style is that made you better or anything?
No, we really talked about that. We usually talk about race cars or kids racing. That's usually the two.
Well, Joey, I will let you get out to the garage. We appreciate you joining us. Good luck this weekend.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.